Dear students, let us start the discussion on the 27th May 2016 article. Now, the first article is related to the Chabahar port and India-Iran relationships and significance of the Iran in the global context. Now, if you see the location of the Iran, it is very strategic. Now, so Iran, it is located close to the Persian Gulf on one side, and added to that, it is close to the Central Asia, West Asian countries, and added to that South Asia, it has the borders. So in one way, Iran can connect the country or India to the entire world bypassing the Pakistan. So in this case, from Gujarat or Mumbai port, we can go to Chabahar. From Chabahar, we can go to the Astrakhan, that is in Azerbaijan. From there, we can go to the till St. Petersburg, that is in Russia. So as of now, how we are going to St. Petersburg? We are taking a roundabout from the Africa, and we are going through the Finland, and we are joining into the St. Petersburg. So this entire distance will be reduced, and it is going to reach to this particular location. So the first advantage is the geographical access to the markets, that is Central Asian markets, and also to Russia. So in the Central Asian markets, European Economic Union, already there is a discussion which the India is going through, that is Kazakhstan and all these countries. So this Chabahar can provide this thing. And the second is Iran energy resources are also important for India's growth. And after that, Iran is also an important market for India's goods itself. So, but however, there are some irritants. So with regard to the Afghanistan, we have a trilateral meeting with regard to China, that is India, Iran and Afghanistan trilateral trade and transit agreement, which the goods will be transmitted from India to Afghanistan through Jaranj-Dilaram highway. Now, strategically, the Southeast Asian countries also can use this route to reach to St. Petersburg in Europe. As of now, they are crisscrossing around China to reach to the Europe. So it can be an alternative to One Belt, One Road, which is being proposed by China, that through Mongolia route. Now the second thing is the Taliban issue. The Iran is preferring to hold the talks with Taliban because it wants to have a stability on its northern front. And the third thing is India is in a very difficult position over here with regard to the management of three axes. Iran represents the Shia axis, Saudi represents the Sunni axis, and Israel is another axis represented by Jews. So that's a very delicate game for India. And finally, another thing is, it is not just India who wants to take the opportunities in Iran now. The China is coming, European countries are coming after the lifting of sanctions. Now after this, India's track record in the completion of the project outside India is also not very encouraging. If you take the Sitaway port, the Sitaway port is part of Kaladan multimodal project, which wants to connect northeastern India with Myanmar. So even it is supposed to be finished 4 years back, even today it has not been finished. So in this context, India has to take this Chabahar port work seriously and has to complete that in time. Now coming to the European Union and India relationship. Now here, European Union, so it has its own problems now. The first thing is the immigration crisis. So as immigration crisis got deepened, so the borders, the closure of the borders between the countries is being talked about. And next is the problem of Eastern European countries. The Eastern European countries are poor, or they are going to gain out of the welfare programs of the rich Western European countries is the question. In this context, the issue in discussion is Brexit, the Britain exiting from European Union. And after these things, the Greece economic crisis, it is still continuing. Now in this context, India-European free trade agreement talks are a victim. It is one thing is due to the Italian Marines case, which is being almost solved now. The second thing is the terms of free trade agreement. The Europe expects India to decrease its customs duties on automobiles and spirits, wines. But India wants a free terms with regard to its agricultural products and also IT and IT enabled services. So in this, India has to be declared as a country that can be served or that can be trusted with regard to the data security. But as of now, India is placed as among the doubtful countries with regard to data security. So India is expecting a data security status for itself, which can boost its IT sector exports. Now coming to Finance Minister interview, what he said is the structural reforms will continue. So how the structural reforms are going to be, the GST and also bankruptcy code, that implementation will move forward, and the SURFACE Act is going to be implemented, and debt recovery tribunals will be streamlined. So in a by and large, the agenda is to continue the reform exercise forward. The structural reforms to reform the economy of India is a welcoming step. Now reaching out to Africa, you know that in recent violation, a student from Congo, Republic of Congo, was killed in Delhi. In resentment against this African envoys, they distance themselves from the celebration of Africa's Day in India. So in this context, the racism is clearly visible among the Indians. The lack of sensitivity to the racism, different races, is one of the reasons why India's image is getting diluted abroad. So this Africa envoy is not celebrating the African Day. It sends a wrong signals to India in the international community. In reaction to this, the Minister of State, Mr. Singh, he has established a contact with these envoys, and they were requested to participate in Africa's Day. And a compulsory engagement once in 3 months is being promised. So the Minister of State will go for an engagement to take a serious stock of the situation that is happening around. So in that way, they are trying to reach to the Africa. Now coming to JAG Quota issue. So already we have discussed enough on the JAG Quota issue. I don't think we need to discuss it again. Our constitution provides reservations only for socially and educationally backward classes and not economically backward. In this, the JATs are not socially educationally backward. They are not educationally or economically backward. By any criteria, the JATs cannot be placed in OBC category. Now, WTO issues. Now, with regard to the free movement of goods under WTO, we have General Agreement of Trade in Services. In this context, the GATS provides for the GATS of WTO provides for freedom of move trade among the services. So, Indian IT and IT enabled service employees have to be freely allowed into United States of America, and there shall be no restrictions about this. But US is keeping certain duty or else restrictions by tightening its visa rules. So H1B and L1 are the visas for temporary work, and US has raised the cost for these or fees for these H1B and L1 visa. So in this way, it is curtailing the natural movement of the people across the countries, and which also becomes burdensome for Indian IT sectors to employ its people in the United States. Now, India has taken the matter to WTO, and America, it has said that the visa fee hike not just applies to India. There is an equality or equal application of this among all the countries. So if it is applied only for India, it comes under the dispute mechanism under WTO. If it is uniformly applied to all, it do not come under the dispute mechanism of WTO. That is what is the US argument is. Now coming to Indian Express, what government must unlearn related to education. What this article talks about, there has to be a special focus on educational technology and also increase in institutional capacities in terms of number of teachers, monitoring of learning outcomes, providing for strong stress on foundational skills. These are critical for education sector in India. Now coming to waiting to take off. The government has taken forward various economic reforms, but there is no significant improvement So it is the time government shall take a review about its flagship programs, especially Pradhan Mantri Kisai Yojana or Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Startup India. All these were announced and big promises are made now, but real change is not happening, and government shall stand and take a look at this particular scenario. Coming to the explained page, the World Bank is giving a series of articles on poverty. So in India, after the neoliberal reforms, the consumptive poverty has decreased. But if you see the other indicators of development, such as health, education, sanitation, etc., the health conditions, they did not improve much. The infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rate did not show significant difference. And coming to education, the school dropouts have increased, though the enrollments also have increased. With regard to sanitation, India is still a country with the highest open defecated population. So in this context, if India is placed among the same set of countries on equal lines of development, India has worse health, education and sanitation indicators. And next is, India has recently tested a reusable launch vehicle. So in this, there are still certain major challenges remain. So United States and its project of shuttle, it was not financially viable. And United States has majorly used these particular reusable vehicles to launch the members to the International Space Station. But however, the US, if you see here, there are Indian experience, if you see here, it is estimated that it will lead to a cost cut down by 30%. It can only be realized after at least 20-25 flights. It means initially it can be a burden onto the economy. And the second thing is, there are different models under the reusable launch vehicle. So to what extent India's model will be effective has to be looked after. A note of caution is given in this article. Thank you very much. All the best.